Hello mortals, I am the BookTube Goddess, the #1 drag queen booktuber on YouTube. And I wanted to do another reaction video, and this booktuber I've been obsessed with for a while, and that booktuber is Nigel. Actually, I am talking about Jess Owens, specifically her series called Book CommuniTEA. Okay, Jess Owens has currently 15,000 subscribers. Her videos do well over 1,000, 1.6, 1.7. Now her Book CommuniTEA videos suddenly pop up to 8.6. There's another one, 11K. So this is really a 15K, a very popular series. But I want to know how she started. So let's go ahead and sort by oldest. And we have the BookTube newbie tag, of course. Oh, only 8 months ago. I thought she's been around longer. She is killing it. Killing it. Wow. Okay, so I've seen so many newbie tags. I want to just, let's go and do, looks like she was doing a lot of tags early on. Okay, well, let's look at her second video, July TBR, Too Many Tomes. And here we go.
Hey y'all, it's me, Jess. Welcome to my channel. Hey guys, hey y'all, hi. Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. I'm Jess, and I'm going to be talking about my July TBR. If you don't know what TBR stands for, it means to be read. So
that camera angle.
For July, which is crazy because normally I never made TBRs. Only the last couple months I've been doing them and roughly sticking to them. I too am shocked. But I have some books, some chunky books, and then I also have some books in here that are on my 20 for 20 list. So like many people did, I made a list of 20 books I want to read in 2020. Most of them have been on my shelf for a long time and I just need to get to them. I don't even know how many I've read, definitely not half, and I still have quite a few in here, and the majority.
Okay, I just want to say that right off the start, you can tell why she's become so popular. It's because of that. It's hard to put your finger on, but some people just have that personality that is very engaging right from the start. And she had it. Now this camera angle doing videos on the bed, I think she would have gotten over that rather quickly. But the video quality looks good and the audio seems pretty good. And so let's see her do this TBR game.
Majority of them are tomes. They're like legit over 600 pages.
I obviously made this ridiculous list before 2020 became the shit show that it is. I have regrets.
And I don't know why I did that to myself. But anyway, so let's talk about the books that I'm going to read this month. So the first one that I'm going to finish, most likely, is one I'm reading right now. And that is Ruin by John Gwynne. This is the third in the Faithful and the Fallen quartet, because there's one more book. And so far, I am 452 pages out of like 740. So as of filming this, it's like June 30th, so I'm not going to finish. But I am going to finish this, and then I have ordered the fourth and final book so that I can finish this series soon. These are really good books, adult fantasy. They're just very long, but the first one was really good.
Like many adult fantasy.
A little bit, but the ending was really good, and then this has been really good. I'm surprised. Wow, really good. I'm surprised I'd gotten this far this fast, but I'm gonna read that. Then I'm going to read or try to get to Royal Assassin.
Oh, yes.
Yes, which is the
Robin
second
Hobb.
book in the Farseer trilogy. I read
Robin Hobb, one of my favorite authors. Now, you need to get through the Assassin trilogy, which is I think our first in the Elderlings world, which I think is an excellent trilogy, but after you get through that, the series or the world building just gets better and better. And you don't have to like read all 20 books or whatever. The books are divided into like trilogies, and there's a couple of 4-book series. So you can just, it's not like one continuous story arc where, oh, if I read Robin Hobb, I have to read all the books. No, you can just read one trilogy here, a trilogy there, you know, and sort of go on at your own pace. But I hope she likes Robin Hobb.
The first one, The Assassin's Apprentice, in May, and I wanted to get to this one in June, and it didn't happen. I'm trying to be better about finishing series because I have the habit of reading a book and then I don't read the next one for like months or over a year, and then I have to reread the first one. So I want to read this sooner than later while the first one's still fresh in my mind, because I've been doing a lot of rereads this year. I need to chill out. Speaking of rereads, I am currently rereading The City of Brass. I'm actually listening to it on audio, mostly when I'm like cleaning or if I'm playing The Sims, but I honestly haven't played The Sims lately. I have been cleaning, but I need to finish it soon because today is June 30th, so the Empire of Gold came out, which is the final book in this trilogy, and I'm so excited. I don't have my copy yet. It will probably be a week or two before it gets to me. So my mail is slow, but I am going to finish rereading this. And then, of course, I'm going to go into the Kingdom of Copper, get a refresher, and then I'll be reading the Empire of Gold. And I'm so excited yet terrified for the ending of this trilogy. But I have high hopes. I have really high hopes that Shannon is going to stick the landing and just really snatch my edges. I just really believe that she will. And then
I like the ending.
I'm going to try to get to Muse of Nightmares. I read Strange the Dreamer this month. Was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed it, because some people told me they didn't think I would like it because of like the flowery writing, but I actually really liked it. I think I gave it a 4 or 4.25. Now, I've heard mixed reviews on this one from people who really like Strange the Dreamer, so I'm nervous, but I need to know what happens, especially with my girl Minya. If you read Strange the Dreamer, then you know. I buddy read it with my friend Leanne. Hey girl! And we have differing opinions on Minya, but I feel Minya. I don't want to say anything else, but I feel her feelings. I feel them, and I want to see what happens. And to like Laszlo and Sarai, but Minya, I want to know what happens to Mabu. So those are the physical books that I already owned. And I'm sure there's going to be books from the library that are coming because they've been coming in and I've been delaying them, which is such an awesome feature, but I can't think of them off the top of my head right now because literally I've had like 6 or 7 come in. So one might be Beach Read. I can't remember who that's by. Also, yeah, I can't remember. Wow. The Lovely War.
I obviously did not come prepared. The book is just called Lovely War, not The Lovely War, not A Lovely War.
Is that one? And literally, I've requested so many, it's out of control. So that's all. I definitely know that I'm really gonna try to get to this month. But then I need to read 2 books from my 20 for 20 list.
Ooh,
this book,
that's a lot of books.
Ruin is actually on that list, so when I finish that, I can cross that off the list, but none of those are, so I need to add 2 here. And I don't think that I plucked Ruin out of here, so I might draw it. Let's see what I get. Please don't be super long, please don't be super long, please don't be super. Oh, wow. I know you're not going to be able to see this because it's on my phone, I can't zoom in. It says The 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin.
Oh, yes.
I could go get
yes,
that,
please read
but it's
that.
in another room. But The 5th Season.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I tried to read this like maybe 2 years ago. And it starts in second person, which is super weird to me. I don't know if I've read anything in second.
I was just talking about this with someone on the live stream, and I agreed that it takes like maybe a third or halfway through that first book just to really get going. And some series are like that. I found the same thing with Ancillary Justice, where I had to get through that first half of the first book, but then it starts picking up. I hope that she got over that hump.
Person, but also just how it started, I was just in not a good mental place to read it. I was like, no. So I'm gonna read it now. Did I just knock this one out of here? The 5th season. I'm gonna choose one more. That's not, I mean, that one's like 500-ish pages, so that's not that bad. Some of these bitches in here are 800 pages. And I have a feeling I'm gonna draw one of those, okay? Oh wait, this says Strange the Dreamer, which I already read. So I'm gonna put that over there. Did a bad job of taking these out. Okay, let's see. Oh, from scratch. That is not a long
Don't know
book.
that.
Yes. So this is a memoir, I think, written by...
I am embarrassed. Written by Tim B. Locke. I need to do better.
It's in my room. I'll put it here. But it's funny because I'm currently watching the show Eureka, and I'm on season 4, and she's in it. And I cannot think of her name right now, but this is her book, and I got it because she's a Black woman who moved to Sicily. And I just thought that was funny because if you don't know, I'm currently living in Sicily. My husband's in the Air Force, and we're stationed here. So I just... those things. I was like a Black woman living in Sicily, and I'm about to move to Sicily. I bought it before I left the States. So, from scratch. That, and that's shorter. Thank you, Jesus. I'm in the 5th season because I really was thinking it was gonna be like The Way of Kings or the Bronze Horsemen, which are like 800 and 1,000 pages. I just could not, Lord. So, got our TBR for July. It's ambitious because, to be honest, I just feel like there's not enough time in the day. Like, when am I supposed to sim?
Okay, I'm going to cut it off here, but if you're interested in seeing the rest of this video, I'll have a link below. But I want to go ahead and look through the rest of her channel. Okay, amazingly, she only started 8 months ago, and she's like one of the biggest names in BookTube now. So obviously she was starting with TBRs. She did a lot of tags. And is she doing like wrap-ups? Ice cream book tag. Okay, she started her CommuniTEA like 7 months ago. Is that her first book community? Okay, so it looks like she's doing a lot of traditional BookTube videos, mostly. And she started her own series of CommuniTEA. And that's, I think, what really took off and really put her on the BookTube map. So let's go ahead and sort by most recent. Now, as you can see, I've seen a lot of her videos already, but this week I made sure that I didn't look at her videos because I knew I was going to do this review. And she has one book CommuniTEA, and she's done a couple of videos after that. So how often does she post? Like 3 times a week? Maybe 5 times a week? That's insane. Okay, can we talk real quickly about the origin of the word tea? I was watching some video with this older white guy say, oh, the origin of the word tea is when old ladies sip and drink tea and gossip. And I was like, wait a minute, that wasn't my understanding of tea. At least how tea is used, my understanding, it is from the gay Black community, specifically the trans community. In fact, the first time it was documented being used as it is currently used is by the Lady Chablis in the Garden, Midnight at the Garden of Good and Evil, which is a nonfiction account of a murder, and it was turned into a movie. And Lady Chablis is fantastic. She is this drag queen / trans personality.
It's a pretty name. The Lady Chablis. I got it off a wine bottle. A cool white wine for a cool Black girl.
And apparently when she used the word tea, as we use the word tea, that was the first time it was ever documented, and this was in the early 90s. And when Lady Chablis talked about the tea, or what's the tea, she was talking about the truth, capital T, truth. And since T, capital T, and T are homonyms and they sound alike, then we get spilling the tea and piping hot tea, and we get that metaphor. Anyway, we do use it to mean gossip, and Jess's series, Book CommuniTEA. Now, this is part 2 of the Emery Lee Ableism in Publishing, and if you aren't aware of this, from part 1 with ableism, and I believe part 1 went over how the author Emery Lee was dropped from their agent and thought it was because of ableism, because Emery is neurodivergent, and requested for some accommodations from the agent, and the agent departed ways. And I had some mixed feelings about that because I don't know what accommodations actually mean. The agent subsequently said that wasn't the reason why Emery and the agent parted ways. So it seems like they're either not good communication, or it just, for me, listening to Jess's first video, it felt like I wasn't hearing the full story to really make an informed decision. So I'm curious about this follow-up video. And I see Nigel is front and center, which we love. So let's take a listen.
Here to provide this message from Nigel that he is not impressed. He is very disappointed in the British community, and he thinks that we're just a hot damn mess. Enjoy the tea.
Uh-oh.
Hey, hi, hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess, and welcome to another installment of Book CommuniTEA, where I try to...
Now, just real quick, from the previous video, she's no longer on her bed, and the picture looks looks nicely framed, and it doesn't look like a camera anymore. I could be wrong. I mean, it doesn't look like an iPhone or a phone. It looks like a real camera. So, level up, Jess.
To keep you abreast of the goings on and the shenanigans in the bookish community. So this is a continuation from last week. I said part 2, and then I didn't film it last week, but last week was primarily focused on the situation that went down on Twitter with author Emery Lee, and really just talking about neurodiversity in general in publishing and ableism in publishing. So I have additional receipts for that situation, because in that video I was explaining that some of the Twitter threads were deleted, but someone sent me those deleted Twitter threads so it can complete the story, and then we have the story. And then the clip that I said I forgot to put in last week, I have that also. It's just going to be another hodgepodge, chaotic, messy video, and I'm so thankful that y'all are embracing my mess and chaos. So let's get it popping.
Previously on Book CommuniTEA.
Oh, good. She's going to
So
recap.
Emery Lee is the author, the main person in the situation. He has a book coming out in May, and he has ADHD. And the original thread was him talking about how he feels that he lost 2 agents, or lost his agent, and then tried to get another agent, and they said never mind because of his ADHD and the accommodations that would have to come with it. And so there was a lot of conversation about that thread. I guess some people took offense and thought maybe that Emery was generalizing the experience of all people with ADHD or all people who are neurodiverse. And some people took offense. Some people, came to the side of Emery. And then he also named the agent. The agent tweeted and said it was not about ADHD, but obviously won't name what it was. So now there's all the speculation. Other people put their input in, like Courtney Milan, her experiences with being neurodiverse, and there was questions on, is that neurodiversity, and a lot of things. So this is where this deleted thread comes into place. So Emery said, okay, well, I'm back. Apparently there's talk going around that I am manipulating the situation because I just didn't want to take Beth's edits, and I'm now trying to shame her to lash back about hurt feelings. I don't know how you can draw that conclusion from my thread, but okay. This is especially upsetting because I literally had to speak to a slew of different friends to accept that this was ableism. I also feel like this demonstrates the fundamental point that Beth was not understanding what I was trying to explain to her because it goes so deep. I first emailed Beth on February 25th saying I'd come to an epiphany about why 4 beta readers loved and understood a project she said lacked basic info. I explained that neurodivergent readers understood it perfectly. She insisted my betas just lacked the experience to spot what was wrong. She asked me to reach out to established authors with ADHD, and I did, but I won't name them. They corroborated that neurotypicals generally don't get what we're trying to do. I made a thread with over 100 responses to show clear examples of how neurotypical/neurodivergent brains differ and sent that to her. The point was that I was trying to get her to understand the ways that story expectations often exclude ND people so that we could take that into consideration in my edits. To say she let me go because I refused her edits is to ignore that I was still asking for discussion. As I said before, she ultimately decided she couldn't work with me so long as I was asking what I was asking. Whether she read my request as asking for her to try to see things my way or as me blatantly refusing her edits, I guess I don't know, but I never once stated that. I never once argued I wouldn't take her suggestions. In regards to the book we were working on, I even told her multiple times that I saw value in her edits and could see ways to proceed with them. Then she told me on the call she thought I'd do better with someone else. Honestly, if you feel like a client saying, please take into consideration why these things are preferable to me and making your edits as refusing your edits, this may be a you thing. The idea that an agent should not be open to a client's intent for their work is weird, but yes. The fact that asking her to consider the way hundreds of other ND folks corroborated as true for us in her edits got me fired is ableist. To refuse to consider any of those comments and just paint me as a problem for bringing them up is ableist. Again, do I want her canceled? No. The whole point of this was to show the way ableism is so normalized in publishing that even people like Beth, who fight for inclusion, can't see they're doing it. If I had asked her to understand the Asianness of my character, imagine the result. If I had said, please consider the way I think as a queer author so we can curate this book for queer audiences while still making it non-queer accessible, would she have fired me for refusing to cooperate? Would y'all really support that action? So why for disability? Anyway, that was the whole point of this. I'm not shaming her. I am not asking y'all to judge her character or turn on her. I'm literally just asking people to be aware of the ways ableism gets normalized and accepted as good writing, the way whiteness had for so long. I explained that I felt like she was curating the book for a neurotypical audience and that I wanted her to understand my position. I told her that I was still making up my mind on changes, but that I wanted us to work together to make this book right for both types of readers. So then there is a screenshot of a part of an email, and it's
just real quick. I'm really glad that this Twitter thread came to light because I wasn't sure what these accommodations were. I mean, did the writer want the agent to come over to their house and speak for 10 hours per week? You know, that would be a weird accommodation. But this seems much more of a reasonable type of accommodation I think the author was looking for. Let me know if you agree below, but let's see what Jess says.
So I just wanted to kind of show you where I am and how my brain works because I'd rather work with you on how we can still keep things that make a story good for me while also making it understandable for neurotypicals instead of just curating it for the market. But ultimately, I feel like that's kind of impossible to do if you don't first and foremost see how a lot of things that are considered good craft actually make a book less enjoyable for a lot of indie audiences. This was the last email we exchanged discussing anything before she asked to get on the phone and told me how to sever our contract. I never said that I wouldn't take her edits or didn't want to work with her, and framing it that way just completely misses the point. And the fact that people are now trying to frame this as me refusing edits really says so much to me because asking for understanding from an agent is not refusing edits. When I gave my editor feedback on my transness, she listened and understood. That's how this works. And I have discussed countless edits based on marginalization before, and never have I been so blatantly disregarded and condescended to as I did with these ADHD edits. So yes, that's ableist. If you don't see that, I don't know what to say. Maybe you have some ableism to check. Okay, and last but not least, people framing this as, wow, so terrible, attacking a woman of color. Like I'm not a whole ass trans person of color is some next level BS. I am literally Black. If you really think being loud on social media doesn't first and foremost hurt me, you are full ass kidding. Okay, really last thing, and then I'm muting this. I don't appreciate the way this is being framed as an attack on an innocent woman of color. I have expressed in every possible way that this isn't about taking her down. This is about the hurt I experienced and wanting better for disabled people. For this to be reduced to me as lashing out over hurt feelings just fundamentally misses everything I'm trying to say. And to hear this from so many people constantly advocating change until a friend was complicit in the harm is just so hypocritical. It says a lot to me that people are literally trying to frame me as a massive manipulator, preying on innocent women of color just so they can pretend their friend is flawless, especially when I'm literally just asking y'all to consider where your disability allyship is falling short. And frankly, yes, this is why I feel unsafe in this community, that my own friends would misconstrue everything I've said and straight up lie to defend an agent with a massive platform, all over me saying, I promise she's not a bad person, she just did a no-no. So yeah, it's funny how fast people can go from believe victims to persecute that lying traitor the second a friend is involved. And I think it's especially telling when the friend isn't even being persecuted. People are literally just questioning one decision she made. So that was a thread after the original thread.
Of course, this is just one side of the story, but I think it's pretty interesting.
That I shared that Emery posted.
Okay. Do you have sensitive teeth and gum problems? Sensodyne, sensitivity, and
then also in my first video, I inserted Courtney Milan, who inserted herself into the conversation. And like I said, Courtney doesn't sleep. She lives on Twitter, as do I. And so Courtney was expressing, she said, hey, there's a whole conversation going on about neurodiversity in publishing right now. I have a lot of thoughts about this, many of which are tangled up in my own experiences. I also don't think I'm seeing the full conversation that's happening, and I'm afraid to say something that people will think is responding to a subtweet that I didn't see or didn't register as a subtweet because I don't know the players who are talking about this very well. I'm writing this for people who have been despairing because they think there may be no or little space in publishing for neurodiverse people. I'm not writing it to subtweet anyone else, just to talk about my own experience as a neurodiverse person.
Then, if this is not confusing enough already, so
I think that Emery Lee may have made a tweet, may have replied to something Courtney Milan said, but now it's deleted. But I saw that Courtney Milan had a quote tweet and the original tweet is no longer available. But Courtney said, I just want to clarify something. I accurately described myself as neurodiverse. I talked about the depression in the thread because that was where I had my experience in publishing. So now I have the missing Twitter thread, and what I just showed you from Courtney was a response to Emery, because Emery responded to one of Courtney's original tweets in her thread where Courtney was speaking about her mental illness and her history with that in publishing. And so this is Courtney responding to what Emery said, because Courtney was feeling like Emery was gatekeeping, and she just had like an emotional response to what Emery was classifying as neurodivergence and mental illness. So that's why Courtney made another thread. So Courtney's tweet says, this is a broader problem of systemic ableism if people are only rarely encountering what neurodivergence looks like. You're simultaneously figuring out the rules for how to write about while also world building the interior of a mind that people haven't often seen. And Emery Lee quote tweeted this and said, I just want to clarify something since this thread is talking a lot about depression. Neurodivergence does not equal neurodiversity. Neurodivergence specifically refers to autism, ADHD, dyslexia, etc. They're cognitive disabilities, not mental illnesses. This is not to say that mental illness people don't struggle here, but almost everyone I know in publishing has some sort of mental illness. Almost no gatekeepers I know are neurodivergent. It's a completely different wiring of the brain that makes it very hard for us to intermingle. And I think this is a huge part of the problem because people with mental illness cannot process the differences. Having ADHD is not a series of symptoms like it is for mental illness. My whole brain and outlook and understanding and ability to process info is different from neurotypicals. Mental illness is like a cup of water with a bunch of beads in it. It's difficult to drink because the beads are in the way. Those are symptoms. Meanwhile, neurodivergence is a glass of orange juice. It's a completely different beverage that can also have beads but doesn't inherently. So that is where the second conversation with Courtney Milan came in, where she felt like Emery was gatekeeping and kind of invalidating her mental illness. And so I looked up the difference between neurodiversity and neurodivergence. So I went to the link that Emery put at divergent.com. I went to the blog, and they have, for the term neurodivergent, it is used to describe a variety of conditions related to cognitive abilities, though more often people with these conditions prefer neurodiverse. It applies to conditions such as autism, dyslexia, dyscalculia, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, and obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD. Neurodiverse individuals often struggle with soft skills, especially ones that apply to social interactions. Neurodiversity is an idea that takes into account variations in the human brain regarding learning, mood, attention, sociability, and other mental functions that doesn't pathologize the conditions, meaning they are not regarded as abnormal or unhealthy, but as differences to be understood and worked with. It largely rejects the medical model of disability. Editing Jessica here, and sorry for the lighting, but I am trying my best to educate myself, and I have been reading all these different blogs and websites and comments from my last video about the difference between neurodiversity and neurodivergence. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm confused. So I'm gonna do my best to try to explain the difference. And if I'm wrong, please let me know, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm just not getting it. Place, hey, place. Here you go. So someone in the... Was that a sneeze?
Oh.
Bless you. Okay. So someone in the comments left me 2 links, and this one was to a Tumblr post by the person apparently who coined the term neurodivergent. So the Tumblr post says, PSA from the actual coiner of neurodivergent. Why did I put my computer so far away like I can see? Yo, many of you need to take an entire stadium of seats like a football arena in Texas number. I coined neurodivergent before Tumblr was even a thing, like a decade or more ago, because people were using neurodiverse and neurodiversity to just mean autistic and possibly learning disabilities. But there's more, like way more, ways a person can have a different yet fucking perfect, damn it, brain. Neurodivergent refers to neurologically divergent from typical. That's all. I am multiply neurodivergent. I'm autistic, epileptic, have PTSD, have cluster headaches, and have a Chiari malformation. Neurodivergent just means a brain that diverges. Autistic people, ADHD people, people with learning disabilities, epileptic people, people with mental illnesses, people with MS, so multiple sclerosis or Parkinson's or apraxia or cerebral palsy or dyspraxia or no specific diagnosis but wonky lateralization or something. That is all it means. It is not another damn tool of exclusion. It is specifically a tool of inclusion. If you don't want to be associated with those people, then you are the one who needs another word. Neurodivergent is for all of us. Annoyedly yours, Neurodivergent K of Radical Neurodivergence Speaking. So that is the person who coined neurodivergence, saying that that does include things such as ADHD, but also mental illness. But then I went to this other website that's called Neurocosmopolitanism. Dr. Nick Walters' notes on autism, neuroqueering, and self-liberation. And it's talking about the differences between neurodiversity, neurodivergence, and neurotypical. And let me tell you what, y'all. I feel real dumb reading through all this. I'm like, why don't I understand these things? So in my video, this one and the last one, I've been interchangeably using neurodiverse and neurodivergent, and that is incorrect. So neurodiversity is just the diversity of human minds, the infinite variation in neurocognitive functioning within our species. And it's not a trait an individual can possess. Diversity is a trait possessed by a group, not an individual. So when an individual diverges from the dominant societal standards of normal neurocognitive functioning, they don't have neurodiversity, they're neurodivergent. So that's where I was using it wrong. So if you have a group of people, and I guess some of them you have someone who's neurotypical, you have someone with ADHD, you have someone with dyslexia. That's a group of neurodiverse people, Nigel. But not one person can be neurodiverse. I think I am explaining that correctly. Again, let me know if I'm wrong. Nigel thinks I'm wrong. Hold, please. So neurodivergent, which is sometimes abbreviated as ND. So before I was saying I was using those interchangeably, neurodiverse and neurodivergent, but ND is neurodivergent. It means so neurodivergent, sometimes abbreviated as ND, means having a brain that functions in ways that diverge significantly from the dominant societal standards of normal. So it's a very broad term. It can be largely or entirely genetic and innate, or it can be a combination of the two. And there are people who can have multiple diverges from dominant societal norms. So a person can be autistic, dyslexic, and epileptic. So they would be multiply neurodivergent. And finally, neurotypical, or abbreviated as NT, means having a style of neurocognitive functioning that falls within the dominant societal standards of normal. From what I've learned here, and this doesn't say it exactly, but Emery said that neurodivergence does not include mental illness. However, the person who coined the phrase neurodivergent says that it does include mental illness. What I have learned also is that neurodiversity can only reference a group of people and not a person. But I guess the jury is still out if mental illness is considered neurodivergent. There are more sources. I couldn't read them all. If you know for sure, let me know. Or if you have an opinion, let me know. But that's all for my little educational part on this today, because I am not qualified to teach this. So please do not let me be the end all be all for your education on this topic. Please use that Google. And if you learned something else, let me know. Hopefully that gives you a more complete story of the situation that happened with Emery Lee. And from just a little bit that I have researched, I definitely know there's a lot more I need to look up to have a better understanding. I think we all could benefit from that. And I'm still not going to comment on whether or not that was wrong of the agent or Emery or anybody else. But now, hopefully you have a better understanding and a fuller picture of the whole situation that played out.
So I hope you enjoyed this reaction to Jess Owens' book CommuniTEA. I think you can tell why she is such a popular booktuber when it comes to these tea videos especially. And you can't really tell from this video, but in other tea videos I've seen, she does seem to weigh both sides of a situation, doesn't always just come down on one side or with one opinion. In other words, that she can have very nuanced opinions about some very difficult subjects, and I really appreciate how she tries to educate you on certain topics like this neurodiversity situation, neurotypical, and what's the other one? I forgot already. Neurodivergent. They're complicated topics, and Jess does her best effort to try to make sense of them. So whether she succeeds or fails, at least she tries. And definitely subscribe to her, not just for these book CommuniTEA videos, although they're my favorites, but she also does book reviews and other more typical booktube videos. And I didn't realize how often she actually posts from her apartment in Sicily, with, of course, special appearances by Nigel. And by the way, if you're not subscribed to me, please subscribe to me and give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. So until we meet again, may all the books you read be blessed.